The brutal wars for Scottish independence left the land scarred and weary. Fields once green and fertile were now marked by the devastation of countless battles, and the people of Scotland carried the heavy burden of loss and hardship. The echoes of clashing swords and the cries of the fallen lingered in the mist, a constant reminder of the price paid for freedom. Legends like William Wallace and Robert the Bruce had secured Scotland's sovereignty, but at a steep cost. Their courage and sacrifice inspired generations, yet the struggle left deep wounds, families torn apart, villages destroyed, and a nation exhausted by years of conflict. The victories of Wallace and Bruce became the foundation of Scottish pride, but also a challenge for those who would rule after them. With King David II dying heirless in 1371, the throne passed to Robert Stewart, Bruce's grandson. This transition was not just a change of rulers, but a pivotal moment in Scottish history. The crown now rested on the head of a new dynasty, one that would shape the destiny of the nation for centuries to come. Robert II's accession marked the dawn of the Stewart dynasty, a turning point from war to the challenge of nation-building. The Stewarts inherited not only a throne, but also the hopes and fears of a battered people. Their reign would be defined by the struggle to heal a wounded land and unite a divided kingdom. The Stewarts inherited a proud but troubled kingdom. Nobles wielded unchecked power, the border with England simmered with violence, and the economy was shattered. Lawlessness was rampant, and rival clans vied for influence, threatening the fragile unity that had been won on the battlefield. The scars of war were visible not only in the land, but in the hearts of the people. Their task was to transform hard-won independence into stable governance and a lasting Scottish identity. The Stewarts needed to establish laws, restore order, and rebuild trust among their subjects. They faced the daunting challenge of forging a sense of nationhood from the chaos of war and of creating institutions that could endure beyond their own lifetimes. The wars had proven Scotland could fight for freedom. Now the Stewarts had to prove it could govern itself. The people yearned for peace, prosperity, and a sense of belonging. The new dynasty's success would depend on its ability to balance the demands of powerful nobles, the needs of ordinary Scots, and the ever-present threat from England. The new dynasty faced rebellious lords, a volatile border, and empty coffers. Every decision carried risks, and every misstep could plunge the kingdom back into chaos. The Stewarts had to find ways to raise funds, secure alliances, and keep the peace, all while asserting their authority over a fractious realm. Robert II and his heirs would have to consolidate power and secure Scotland's place in Europe, all under the looming shadow of England. Diplomacy, strategy, and vision would be essential as they navigated the complex web of European politics, seeking allies and recognition for their fledgling dynasty. The future of Scotland depended on whether the Stewarts could turn survival into strength. Their legacy would be measured not just by the battles they fought, but by the nation they built, a Scotland that could stand proud, united, and free for generations to come. Robert II, a seasoned statesman with decades of experience, understood that Scotland's greatest need was not conquest or expansion, but stability. After years of turmoil and war, the kingdom was weary, its people longing for a sense of security and order. Robert recognized that only a careful, measured approach could heal the wounds of the past and prevent new conflicts from erupting. He managed the ambitions of powerful nobles through a delicate web of alliances, generous land grants, and carefully arranged marriages. Rather than relying on force, Robert preferred negotiation and compromise, using diplomacy as his primary tool. This approach allowed him to keep the peace within his realm, even as rival factions vied for influence and power. The ever-present English threat loomed just across the border, but Robert was shrewd. He avoided open warfare, instead allowing his border lords to conduct small-scale raids and skirmishes. These proxy conflicts kept England distracted and off balance, buying Scotland precious time to recover and regroup. This risky strategy preserved Scotland's independence, but it also gave ambitious nobles more power than ever before. The balance Robert struck was delicate, and the price of peace was constant vigilance against internal intrigue. Within his own family, Robert's many children extended Stuart influence across the land. However, this also sowed the seeds of new rivalries and competition, as each branch of the family sought its own advantage. His sons, especially John, who would become Robert III, and Robert of Fife, grew increasingly dominant. They often acted independently, sometimes challenging their father's authority and making decisions that shaped the future of the kingdom. Royal authority during Robert's reign was fragile, more symbolic than absolute. The king's power depended on the cooperation of his nobles and the loyalty of his family. Yet despite these challenges, Robert II's reign brought a rare and much-needed period of peace. For the first time in years, Scotland's villages and towns could begin to recover from the devastation of war. He established the Stuart dynasty as the legitimate royal line, ensured a smooth succession, and kept the kingdom united through careful planning and foresight. Robert's quiet success laid the groundwork for future rulers, giving them a stable foundation on which to build. His reign was not marked by dramatic victories but by the slow, steady work of nation-building. In the end, it was stability, not glory or conquest, that became Robert II's greatest legacy, allowing Scotland to endure and thrive in the years to come. Robert III, frail and indecisive, struggled to control Scotland's unruly nobles. Real power shifted to his brother Robert, Duke of Albany, who ruled as regent. Albany's ruthless politics kept the kingdom together, but lawlessness and feuds flourished. The royal family was torn apart. Robert III's heir, David, died mysteriously in Albany's custody, leaving only young James. Fearing for James's safety, the king sent him to France, only for the prince to be captured by English pirates. With James a prisoner and Robert III dead, Albany's grip became absolute. Scotland drifted, leaderless, under Albany's regency. The kingdom waited, suspended, for its true king to return. The Stuarts' survival now depended on James's fate. After spending 18 long years as a captive in England, James I finally returned to a deeply divided and chaotic Scotland in 1424. The kingdom he came back to was plagued by feuding nobles, lawlessness, and a weakened monarchy struggling to assert control. During his captivity, James was not idle. He received a thorough education, observing the English monarchy's power and discipline. Inspired by what he saw, James became determined to bring similar order and authority to his own troubled realm. Upon his return, James acted decisively. He targeted the powerful Albany Stewarts, executing Murdoch and his sons in a dramatic display meant to shatter the grip of the nobility and reassert royal dominance. This brutal purge sent shockwaves through the aristocracy. It was a clear and chilling message. The king had returned, and any who dared challenge his authority would face dire consequences. Determined to transform Scotland, James launched a series of sweeping reforms. He strengthened the justice system, increased the crown's income through new taxes and fines, and worked tirelessly to assert royal authority over every corner of his kingdom. James summoned parliaments more frequently, reformed the administration of government, and made bold attempts to bring the unruly Highlands under tighter royal control, seeking to unify the realm. Yet his energetic and often ruthless rule did not go unopposed. Many nobles deeply resented his interference, feeling threatened by his relentless drive to centralize power. James's policies included seizing lands from rebellious lords and demanding unwavering loyalty, actions that created a growing number of powerful enemies among the aristocracy. His vision was to build a strong, centralized monarchy that could stand alongside the great kingdoms of Europe. But his harsh methods and uncompromising stance only fueled opposition and unrest. Ultimately, James's relentless pursuit of control and his disregard for noble privilege would lead to his tragic downfall, as conspirators plotted in the shadows. The struggle for authority within the Stuart dynasty was far from over. The seeds of conflict James had sown would continue to shape the fate of his descendants. The future of Scotland would be defined by the ongoing battle for power between the crown and the nobility, a delicate balance that would determine the nation's destiny. The lessons of James's turbulent reign echoed through the generations, leaving a lasting mark on Scottish history and the monarchy itself. The Wars of Independence forged a new Scottish identity from a patchwork of peoples. Shared struggle and sacrifice became the foundation of national pride and myth. The Declaration of Arbroath powerfully asserted that freedom, not glory or riches, was Scotland's cause. Heroes like Wallace and Bruce became enduring symbols, one of the commoners' defiance, the other of royal perseverance. Epic poems and stories celebrated these legends, shaping Scottish culture for centuries. Independence brought a cultural flowering. Scots language gained prestige, and the arts thrived under Stuart patronage. Scotland emerged not just as a political entity, but as a nation with its own voice and identity. The legacy of the wars was a confident, distinct Scottish culture. The wars transformed Scottish government, giving rise to the Community of the Realm, a shared authority among nobles, clergy and burghers. Parliament became central, making decisions on war, peace and taxation. Unlike England, Scotland's unicameral parliament fostered unity among the estates. Stuart kings needed parliament's support for legitimacy and resources, but it also checked royal power. This balance created a tradition of shared governance and accountability. The idea that sovereignty resided with the people, not just the king, became a defining feature. This legacy shaped Scottish political culture for centuries. The struggle between crown and parliament would define the Stuart era. Independence pushed Scotland to seek allies abroad, most notably France. The Auld Alliance, forged in 1295, was both a military pact and a cultural bridge. France offered protection from England, while Scotland opened a second front in continental wars. The alliance brought more than soldiers. Scottish students, merchants and ideas flowed to and from Europe. French influence shaped Scottish court life, law and military tactics. Scottish mercenaries gained fame in France and trade flourished with the continent. Ports like Leith and Aberdeen became gateways to Europe. Scotland's outward-looking identity grew, distinguishing it from England. The Auld Alliance reinforced Scotland's place as an independent European nation. Its legacy endured long after the wars. The Scottish-English border remained a lawless frontier long after the wars. Border reivers, clans like the Armstrongs and Scots, lived by raiding, defying both crowns. The Stewarts struggled to control them, but their raids served as a buffer against English invasion. Attempts to impose order rarely lasted. The terrain and clan loyalties made the region ungovernable. Yet the reivers' martial skills were a strategic asset in times of war. This uneasy relationship bred a culture of suspicion and readiness along the border. For Southerners, the English threat was ever present, shaping local identity. The border's violence was a constant reminder that Scottish freedom required vigilance. The struggle for security defined life on the frontier. The legacy of the Stuarts and the Wars of Independence still shapes Scotland today. National pride, rooted in the defiance of Wallace and Bruce, endures in culture and politics. The principle of popular sovereignty, born in the Declaration of Arbroath, inspires modern debates on independence. Symbols like the Stone of Destiny and figures like Wallace remain potent in Scottish identity. Even popular culture keeps these stories alive and relevant. The Stuart era's resilience and confidence continue to inform Scotland's sense of self and its aspirations. The echoes of that struggle still shape the nation's dreams and debates.